Monday in Melrose Mountain, Tryon, North Carolina. It's been a beautiful day, and although it's been warmer than this time usually in this season, but still a beautiful day. Nice breeze blowing in off the lake, and we've really enjoyed having our daughter and our grandchildren with us this last couple of days. I want to look at Proverbs 11. Because Proverbs 11 talks about not only the contrast between good and evil, but Proverbs 11 talks about the outcome of good and evil. Sometimes we're short-sighted when we think about doing something that's marginal and perhaps dishonest or improper or unethical. And we forget that there's a long-term consequence for that kind of action, as well as there being a positive long-term positive to doing good things. I'm reminded of a story that I always thought was quite a funny story. It's a story about a lady that went into a butcher shop. She was having company for dinner and she wanted a large chicken. Well, the butcher went into the meat case and he only had one chicken. And it really wasn't quite as large as what the woman had asked for. But he brought it out and put it on the scale anyway. And she said, I'm not sure that's really going to feed all of the people that I have coming. He said, well, wait a minute, let me go back and see if I can find a bigger one, knowing that he only had the one. So he went in the back and he kind of fluffed up the one chicken that he had. And when he came back out, he put the same chicken back on the scale, but this time he rested his thumb on the scale and made it weigh more than it actually did. And the woman said, well, that's still pretty marginal, so I guess what I'll do is I'll take both of those chicken. Well, and now the butcher had a problem, didn't he? He had only had one chicken, and now she was asking for the two that he had proposed that he had, one weighing much more than the other one. You see, Proverbs 11 begins with a false balance is an abomination to the Lord. And that's what that's all about. Putting his thumb on the scale was a false balance. It was an abomination to the Lord. And so as we look through Proverbs 11, we find that a false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. You see the contrast between good and evil? And that's the way the entire Proverb 11 goes. Proverbs 11:2 talks about pride and character. And it says that if you have a lot of pride, it will lead to dishonor. If you're humble, it will lead to wisdom. In verse 3, it says, integrity of the upright is good, but falseness will destroy them. In verse 4, it says, riches will not help you in the day of judgment, but righteousness delivers from death. In verse 5, it says, being blameless will smooth the way for you, and the wicked will come to its own end. And verse 6, it says the righteous will be delivered, but the evil will fall by their own greed. And on goes Proverbs 11 to goals, trouble, tongue, reputation, gossip, leadership, judgment, mercy, false gain, values. Evil men always wind up with punishment, while righteous are always delivered. Verse 21 is where you'll find that summation, even though there's a lot more that Proverbs 11 has to say. Is it possible that in today's schooling that a business class might take a hard look at Proverbs 11 and say, this is how a business ought to be run, with integrity and honesty, with careful tongues, and with true treatment of all of the clients. As a matter of fact, Proverbs 11 has some humor to it too. It's one of Solomon's Proverbs, found in Proverbs 10 through 24, and it says, a gold ring and a swine's snout is like a beautiful woman who lacks discretion. I find that quite humorous. It's quite a vivid picture, isn't it? A gold ring and a pig's nose is like a beautiful woman who has no discretion. Maybe we ought to study the Proverbs a little bit more. Maybe they ought to be taught in school. The Bible in school? Yes, the Bible in school. There's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, a lot of good direction for every endeavor in life. When was the last time you studied Proverbs? Maybe it's time to go back and take another look. Go slowly. Meditate on them. Think about how they apply to life today. And if you go to Proverbs 11, you'll find out how things end up for the righteous versus the wicked. That's your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.